Ed eccoci qua, ciao ragazzi, in diretta al salotto di Simone. Ok, allora fra pochissimo arriverà anche Tonio. Stasera parleremo in inglese, parleremo di Strength War, quindi Final Rep. Tonio, how are you?
Ciao, ciao Simone.
Ciao
How are you?
Come stai? How are you?
I'm fine. It's a bit stressful at the moment, but we're working on it.
Okay, perfect. And tonight I want to speak with you about Strength War, about Final Rep. We spoke together 3 days in order to improve our Strength War and to speak about your rules. So, Tonio, you sent me also your German results about Final Rep, I think about last year, doesn't it?
No. I think these were the results of this year,
This year.
or
Okay,
maybe these were the results of the World Championship. I'm not sure what I
okay,
sent you.
now we can check because also Mirko arrived. Okay, ecco Mirko. Hi Mirko, how are you? Mirko is desaparecidos tonight. The
But there's
chair is there, but not Mirko. Okay, very well. So, Tony, are you ready for the Final Rep?
Sure. It will be the biggest event so far in streetlifting history, I would say, and also the strongest.
Yeah, what do you think about the categories and the athletes who will participate? Who is the strongest?
Oh, that's hard.
Tonio?
That's very hard to tell. Do you hear me?
No, yeah. I
Okay,
thought
perfect.
the strongest are you.
No. I think there will be no clear winner in no category at all, because in the end it's all about the fight that's going on in each category, and even in categories like below 94 or below 87, we have at least 2 to 3 very strong athletes who will compete for the win, and this is, in my opinion, what a world championship should be about. Because
name of this athlete in that category?
I won't spoiler them right now.
Okay. It's secret.
But in 94, I think it's obvious it will be a battle between Javier, or Xavier, as you call him in Italy.
Xavier Machas.
Between him, Baki, and Theo. So like two French guys, one from Italy, and I think the next will be from either
I heard
Poland.
something about Baki, yeah, because some people here in Italy spoke with me about him. He's very strong, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think from all athletes competing, he's one of the most well-rounded, because in the end he's not only doing squats and street lifting as a street lifter does, but he can also do a full side split. He can do a lot of handstand push-ups and stuff, like so the traditional calisthenics movements as well. So I think overall it's a very interesting athlete, and I think also that he will have a lot of potential in street lifting, but also in other aspects of the sport.
Yeah, I can understand. And yesterday I made a reunion with a Vulcano reunion with Mirko, and we spoke about women categories. And Mirko, can you explain to Tonio and to our follower our decision about Strength War women categories? Because we want to do like the Final Rep. So when we send you our winners, they can go against the same weight categories. So that's why I want also to explain here in this live. So Mirko, explain us what we decided.
Exactly. First of all, hello Tonio. Hello everyone. So this looking at the athlete that we had this year for the woman, I speak. For the next year, 2024, we have the number for make 3 categories. The minus 57.
Can you share our women results so we can explain with our
this year, you mean?
Yeah. Share the screen so we can see together.
1 minute.
Because we check about our women participants, and we found 3 categories, in fact, because at the beginning I thought that we hadn't enough women to do 3 categories. Instead, we checked and we found these things very interesting, and so we decided to share categories, but 3 categories, and now we share and we explain why this kind of decision. Because I checked and I found that you did 4 categories in women, but we found that you had, for example, 2 women for 1 category. I don't remember if the less 70. I don't remember.
I think it was the above 70 kilo category. The reason behind it is that in Germany, I don't know if you have a saying in Italy like this. In Germany, we always say the question is what comes first, the chicken or the egg? So without the egg, there is no chicken, and without a chicken, there is no egg. So therefore, it's for us, it is like, okay, we set up a category, although it might be not full at the moment. It will show the step into the future. And this is, in my opinion, very important, especially if you look at the men's category, for example, how it developed in Germany. We started with a below 80 and above 80. Then we set up, okay, it would be like 73, 80, 87 and above, I think. And then we added 1 category above and so on, and 1 below. So I think to have the possibility to have more women competing in the sport, it's always, or it should always be a goal to have a decent amount of weight categories. So, for example, it is hard for somebody to compete in a weight category they're way too light for. For example, if you have a plus 63 category, somebody can compete with a body weight of 80 kilo or a body weight of 64 kilo, for example. And this is a huge gap, especially if you look at women's results. You have to keep in mind that the squat is definitely overvalued in this whole competition. So if you squat as a woman, if you squat really heavy, it's almost a guarantee to win, because in the end it makes way more than half of the total.
That's why Tonio.
You know
That's
why
we have
coefficients.
Yeah, sure.
That's why. But
this is also something.
Yeah,
this is also something we discussed in Final Rep as well. But I think this whole point system or coefficient makes sense for women, definitely, because, as I said, our goal or the philosophy behind Final Rep is to have well-rounded athletes, balanced athletes, and I think in men's categories we have a lot of balanced athletes right now, and I think at the moment women too. But for the future of the sport, I think we have to think about how to balance the upper and lower body at women competitions, of course.
Exactly. Let me explain our philosophy for the coefficient. We try to balance the pull, the push, and the leg. This is our philosophy. And with the results from 2020, 2021, and 2022, we calculate this coefficient. Isn't our feel. is a mathematical
Exactly. We took the
algorithm
results.
that with come si dice, una miscela con a
mix.
recipe, a mix of parameters that makes this coefficient, and automatically adding results from our from year to year, year over year, it become
Yes,
perfect and
we had each
more
year our
efficient.
results. Yeah, to be more precise, to be more exactly, because if we had only, for example, 1 year of results, it's not enough to do coefficients correctly. But we had lots of results, so we put together and we have the exactly coefficients. For example, here in Italy, we use 2.1 for muscle up, 0.6 for squat, 1 for dip, and for pull up, Mirko?
Or
I
for
don't
pull up,
remember if
one
is the same like
and
dip. 1,
for the
2.1
squat,
and 0.6.
0.6
Yeah,
for the squat. For the women is a little bit different.
So
Because
let's look.
women results are different. So the coefficient for the women are different, because women results are very, very different.
Exactly.
If I paragonare, come si dice?
Yes, if I want to put women results against men results, we have lots of difference.
So I can't use the same coefficient. That's the
Exactly. Tony explained
Sure.
very well. Tony explained very well this this thing. So let's look to our women results. For example, the winner of the less 55 kilos was Erika Carlesimo. She did the total of 149 kilos, squat, where can I... 69?
Yeah.
No, are you sure?
No, this is the... Wait.
Points.
Is not the...
points.
non è l'alzata.
Points. No,
Sono
sono i
punti.
punti. Sì,
Yes.
points. But can we also see the total in weight?
Wait.
Okay,
Qua.
so we can see. For example, let's look about Erika Carlesimo, the winner. Erika did 120 kilos of squat, 50 kilos in dip, and 30 kilos in pull-up. So the total was 150 and
25 plus 47.5 and
no,
150.
Mirko, la terza alzata, ascolta me.
È sbagliata, non l'ha passata.
Red, ok. So we have 25. So can we have the total weighted?
Yes.
Let's do the total, because I count the red lift. So let's see, 187.5 kilos. Let's look to the points. The total points, 149 points. So it's different, because with our coefficients, we have not the I don't remember there, the 115 kilos, but 69 points. So it's very important to use coefficients. But let's look.
No, the question is if you compare the totals, if there would be a difference between those who would win and those who would lose.
Yeah,
because if I compare the totals, the second girl or women would have less total anyway, I think. Compared to the first.
I don't know. We can compare. Compare. You have already compared, Tonio?
No. But I just by looking at the numbers.
Yeah. You can already see that she won the same.
Erika compete in the minus 57, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't have the muscle up, so it's very hard to compare. It
Yes,
is more about compare the totals within your own competition, because for
you
me
have a
it
real
is way.
muscle up.
Yeah, we have the muscle up, and therefore you have no coefficient, so it doesn't matter to compare those, in my opinion. But if you just look at your own competition and then compare the total weight that was moved, then there should be either there is a difference, then your coefficient does some work, or the total is basically the same order as the coefficient order, then you basically don't need the coefficient.
Wait,
You know?
wait. Yeah, I mean, I make this test not with the women, but with the men. And I see that if I don't use a coefficient, athlete with a bigger squat win.
Can you show, Mirko? Can you show us the Xavier category? Because in that category there was a guy who is a power lifter, and without coefficients,
so it's not a problem. It's not the sorry. Let me explain better. I don't want to tell that if the squat is high, you have to lose. No, I want to tell that the muscle up is extremely down level. Is not well represented without coefficient, because you lift your lifting in relatively to a squat is extremely different.
But
this is the problem, and that why we want the coefficient.
Yeah, but if you compare it to any other sport that has more than one discipline, the goal is not to equal all the disciplines, you know? Like if you look at triathlon, for example, the times between running, swimming, and driving the bike are not the same.
Yeah, of course.
Or if you look at Olympic weightlifting, you have two different movements, and they, for example, don't use a coefficient, although you will move like something between 30 to 50 kilo less, you know? Because in the end, I think you have to keep in mind that you will compare each athlete within each exercise.
But the triathlon... So, no, I finish, then I replay.
And then you go to the next exercise. And for example, if somebody is muscling up more than 10 kilo than you, then he has 10 kilo an advantage. Definitely, it is easier to have a 10 kilo gap in squat. But as I said earlier, in my opinion, it's about the balance between upper and lower body, and not the balance between push, pull, and legs. Because then we also have to say, yeah, okay, I want to have the muscle up same valued as the pull up, for example, which is, in my opinion, it's just a different movement. And if you compare it, of course, you will have different numbers, but you will then like force people to become more like one-trick ponies, because you can neglect the squat in the end. Because then you can say, okay, if I have a 50 kilo muscle up, I basically only have to squat 180, which is in a category, for example, above 94, like heavyweights. That's not a decent squat, you know? And in the end, everybody has the same possibilities, and everybody has the same time for training and improving the squat and also the muscle up. And if you look, for example, at the World Championship, as I also stated when I was in Italy, we don't have only the biggest squat wins, but basically the guy with the biggest muscle up in his weight category won most of the time. Like only in 87 kilo category, not the guy with the biggest muscle up won.
Let's check. Here, okay, in the plus 87, okay, Xavier was the best in everything.
Yeah, but he also has like the biggest muscle up. What I think,
let's see the other category. In the minus 87, yes.
No, but you can show that if you...
For example, if you see Petruziel in this category, the minus no, dov'è che è?
No, what do you want to show, Mirko? Cosa vuoi far
No,
vedere?
perché ha chiesto che nelle nostre gare sicuramente chi ha il muscle up più alto ha vinto.
No,
No.
no, it's not. Okay, also answer also to some question or some people should start squatting more. Issue solved. Yeah, but we want to explain a thing because we spoke with Tonio about this question because here in Italy we have lots of power lifters that want to try to do street lifting. But for example,
Why not?
if we think, yeah, it's, the possibility is of course to do, but not to give the possibility only to win with the squat. Why?
But you don't. You don't. You can't win a competition only by the squat if the street lifting athlete is squatting decently. You know, like in this scenario, you're talking like the power lifter is really good at squatting, and every street lifter competing against him is completely whack, either in upper body and lower body, and is not able to be competitive in this relation. Like, for example, if you just look at the numbers you have at powerlifting, I think you have to maybe overthink the philosophy behind it, because it's not about being a powerlifter or being a street lifter or whatever you want to call yourself. It's about being a strong person or athlete. And that's also the reason why people from powerlifting can come to street lifting and be very strong at it. Because if you want to be an elite powerlifter, you have to bench at least, depending on the weight class, something around 200 kilo. And if you can bench 200 kilo, there's a high chance that you're also very strong at dipping. And then you only need a decent or strong pull, you know? And I think if you look, for example, at Javier, does he call himself Javier or Xavier? Like the
Xavier.
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 Like if you look at him, he could also be a decent powerlifter if he would like focus squat more.
Yeah, but let's check the second of that category. Mirko, can you show us the second place? That's why I want to explain, because it's an important thing. If we want to see only the total, Pileggi was the second, while with the coefficients, La Tegana was the second. That's why, because the squat is very important in some categories. But if you come from powerlifting, you have, for example, 300 kilos of squat. Without coefficient, you take 300 points. And you can do also 5 kilos of muscle up, but it's ridiculous for street lifting.
Yeah, but if you have somebody who can squat 300 kilo,
yeah,
they are most likely to compete either at below 94 or above 94. I don't think that you will find that you. Let's keep this example. I don't think you will find somebody below 87 kilo category for street lifting that can squat 300 kilo.
300, yeah.
At the moment. I think that there are people coming close to it, but also from the street lifting community itself. But most likely they will be below 94 or above 94. And if you compare them with a 300 kilo squat and this is elite powerlifting level, like this is not somebody who's calling himself a powerlifter just because he's going to the gym twice a week. This is somebody who dedicated a lot of time and a lot of training.
But Tonio, sorry, we supposed in this way, while with coefficients, we don't suppose, we calculate. For example,
no, it's not about supposing. It's about if somebody can squat 300, then he still has to overcome 270, for example, in Javier's category, in upper body total. And if he's able to do this, for example, with 280 kilo, then I mean, why not? You know, like if you're just looking at the squat itself, of course there will be a huge gap, but this is always just because street lifting at the moment is a sport
But
that developed like 2 to 3
okay.
years ago.
I want
Okay,
to show
but-
you a thing, Tonio. Sorry, Mirko.
But
For
with-
example,
Right.
we can take Xavier, the case
Yes.
of Xavier. Let's do a calculation, Mirko, together. We take 4 lift. I want to see how much is important muscle up in the total of Xavier, how much the pull up. Do you understand, Mirko? Do you understand, Tonio?
sì.
So
Per
let's
esempio,
take, for example,
570
3 or 4
al
athletes,
totale.
and we do for example, we calculate how in percentage is important to do the total. And so I show you how we calculate the coefficients, because
I understand how you calculate it, but in my opinion, it doesn't really help the sport, because if you want to attract more people and make it more common for those who are not in the sport right now, it is always, in my opinion, our task and our goal to keep it as simple as possible, you know? And as soon as you bring up a coefficient, for example, let's be ridiculous, and for example, if you adapt the coefficient year by year because you can be more precise, it can be that the winner of this year wouldn't have been the winner of 4 years ago. And this is something where people say, okay, why? So you just have to be lucky.
It's difficult to understand.
No,
you
it's
know,
not lucky.
Of course, you because you're lucky that there is more data for you,
There's
for
no
example, to
strongest
calculate,
athlete.
and then you can be more precise. But somebody who won the competition 3 years ago wouldn't have won it with a coefficient of 2 years from now, where I think this makes it more difficult for people to understand who are not in the sport right now. And of course, as you can see here, most of the people are pretty much balanced between upper and lower body. For example, in my opinion, Xavier could put on like 10 kilos on his squat, so it is 50-50, you know? So, for example, if you look at him,
like if you want to explain, for example, also the difference between lower body and upper body. When you were in Italy, you explained me that you consider the upper body, so deep, muscle up and pull up, the total, and the lower body. For example, Xavier has 48.25% for the lower body,
yes,
and 52% for the upper body. Doesn't it, Mirko? Yeah.
And as you can see, and if you have a look at the really like top level street lifter, at the moment,
this kind of
a lot of people will tend to have more upper body total than lower body total. Me, for example, as well, or for example Baki, or for example Theo, or Ludo, or Pere, or whoever, like a lot of people, you know. And therefore I think you want to have, or this is the philosophy that we developed in Germany, 50%, at least, to have a equaled upper and lower body. For example, if you look at powerlifting, it's a lower body focused sport. So therefore, if you have a, for example, total of 900 kilo, they are most likely to bench around 230 to 250. So which is not even close to 50% of the total. So therefore, in street lifting, if you want to be competitive at a high level, you have to be decent both in upper and lower body, you know? And therefore, for example, you won't see a lot of elite street lifters having way more lower body total than upper body total.
I understand. And now I can also see, Xavier said, muscle up 20 kilos, plus squat 250, no street lifter.
Because he's a little bitch. And I have to emphasize the little. Javier is just sad because he's not allowed at the roller coaster alone. He has to ask his mom if he can take she can take him.
Okay, so
but as you can see, if you compare, and this is, I think, very, very interesting, if you just compare Javier to all the other guys who basically lost against him with way more than 100 kilo total difference, they are way more lower body focused than him. But they can't win. But they can win. For example, the guy with the 270 kilo squat is nowhere close to him.
I show you exactly these things. I zoom a bit because now
zoom on Giovanni Lategana, who was the second, and he's lower focus. Yeah,
but
exactly.
This one is the power lift. Is a power lifter. Pilegi had only 1.25 in muscle up. Muscle up, yeah, and 270 in squat, so a very high squat.
Yeah,
this is
also the squat depth of Javier is also very high in my opinion.
Yeah, Xavier,
just kidding.
It's extremely high. So everything is high. This is he's a complete athlete. This is our philosophy. We want a complete athlete.
No, but as I said, and now consider the following. For example, you have this powerlifter who's squatting 270.
Yes, exactly, this one.
In my opinion, for me, it's completely fine because, in my opinion, our goal is to grow the sport as huge as possible. And if somebody from powerlifting is coming to street lifting, it's like a guest to me, you know? Like he's maybe if I come from Germany to Italy, I'm your guest, and you're like, oh, nice to have you here.
I understand.
Learn from each other. And I think you don't have to punish somebody just because he's very strong at squats.
We don't. No, sorry, Tonio. This is I want to explain these things because the coefficient is like a scissor. Don't work only to reduce the point for the people that have an higher squat. It works in the other side, because if you have a very low squat, you receive an amount of point that is, come si dice esiguo, is extremely slow, extremely little. So it works in the two direction. If I have a very low squat, I lose. Of course, is
I think if you compare, for example, third place and fourth place, just in squat, there is a gap of 60 kilo. And just like, you know, the one who has 210 valid and the powerlifter with 270, where I think if you squat 60 kilo in difference, it's a squat from a completely different level, you know, in comparison if you compare both. And therefore I'm like, okay, what you have to understand, in my opinion, is, or this is my point of view, let's keep the powerlifters inside the sport, because to be successful on the long run, they have to be stronger at the upper body anyway, you know? Like if the guy with the 270 kilo squat wants to be competitive against the little shocky guy, he has to improve his upper body by a lot. And I don't say a bit, by a lot. I mean, he's lost over 100 kilo in total in the upper body. And therefore, what the question is the focus of the coefficient to say, okay, if somebody from powerlifting comes in the sport, it's something bad? Or is it something, okay, it's basically just a normal person with a big squat? You know? Like also somebody who started street lifting, for example, Timo in Germany, who won minus 87 kilo category last year. If you compare his upper body lifts to the world-class level, he's not the best, but his squat is very good. And compared to the other guys last year, it is 60 kilo difference in squat, or somehow something like this. But what I want to state at this point is he never have been a powerlifter or did powerlifting before like two months ago. So you can also have street lifters with a pretty decent squad who can go and compete at a powerlifting event and then come back and still be street lifters and consider themselves as street lifters. So I don't think that there should be a huge debate about splitting the sport between street lifting and powerlifting, because in the end, people will choose the sport that fits for them the best and that is the biggest fun for them. And our goal and our task as organizations of competitions is to give them the biggest platform possible, make the best events possible, and if they then choose to stay inside the sport, then we achieved our goal. But I don't think that it really matters from which sport they are coming to the sport. It just matters, are they nice persons? And are they willingly to improve and be better street lifters? Because in the end, this is the thing we care about. And we don't care about how good of a powerlifter he or she is.
Yeah, I understand your point of view. It's very interesting. No, my only thing was not to give an advantage to a power lifter. For example, if I am a street lifter and I spent lots of time to improve my muscle up, for example, I can spend 3 years to improve only 10 kilos, no, which are a lot. For example, I saw lots of guys improve 20 kilos of muscle up, and now they have 36 kilos. But in 3 years, not in 1 year. While in squat, they can improve, for example, from the first strength war, 200 kilos, they come back with 250 kilos. So only in 1 year, 50 kilos. So we know that not each year you can increase, you can improve your squat. But it's difficult to improve kilos in muscle up. That's why we decided to give the coefficients and to calculate the percentage and the importance of the lift. For example, we can see that for Pileggi, 0.2, only 0.2 in muscle up, while in Xavier, 7.02. So he spent lots of time to reach the 40 kilos, but it's not enough the time he spent. He should spend his time without coefficients to improve the squat. So, for example, for 5 years, the next 5 years, Xavier can wait
Yeah, but he's already an old lazy bitch, in my opinion. So he shouldn't wait. If he waits too long, he will just die. He's that old, in my opinion. He's a grandpa. Yeah, of course. But in the end, I think you have to understand or consider how the sport will develop. Because, for example, if you look at me, I'm not the best at pulling movements, for example. So if you look at my stats, I will pull something around, hopefully, between 90 and 95 at Worlds. If you look at the top level guys who will pull way above 100.
Can we do the same calculation with some of the strongest guy? For example, Baki. Do you have number about Baki, Tonio?
Yeah, I sent you the results from World Championship, I think.
Ok, Mirko, puoi prendere I dati di Baki e facciamo la stessa cosa?
In che categoria è Baki?
È nel
94. He's the 94. Same as Javier. I can also tell you what he did, and then you can just compare. But basically, they're pretty even, I think. Let's just check. Wait a second.
So we can show the followers.
Like here. So okay. What he did at Worlds, like he improved a lot since then. But his muscle up was 42.5.
42.5, quindi metti Mirko Baki.
Aspetta, quanto ha fatto?
42,5, muscle up 42,5. So muscle up 42.5. Then
pull 100.
100 pull, 100 pull.
dip 150 and squat 240.
240 squat. So let's check.
But I think if you look at it, they have the same pull, they almost have the same dip, and almost the same muscle up. So in the end, the squat decides this as well. You know? Like, for example, if you look at Javier, he has 40 kilo muscle up, 100 kilo pull up, and something I think around 155 dip.
150, yeah. 100 Xavier with this number. Yeah, I think 150. Mirko, mi fai vedere un attimo Xavier? So Mirko, can you show Xavier number?
155. Yes.
100, yeah.
So basically the squat decides this. Because if you have 2.5 kilo difference in the muscle up, I don't think that will matter a lot if you have 35 kilo difference in squat. Isn't it like that?
Aspetta un attimo, fammelo mettere al posto di questo. Va.
Okay, now Mirko can check the number. No, because I'm curious about the percentage. Because I want to see if also him is a correct balance between the upper body and the lower body. Because I see
532 avrebbe fatto come... No, aspetta.
come total.
No, aspetta, il total te lo
This
do.
is basically this. Yeah, I was saying this is basically the total. So I think it should be like less.
Wait.
Yeah, because let's check the total. 532, no.
Yes, and in coefficient 483.
So
400,
Xavier was
483.
stronger than Baki.
Yeah, but total wise anyway, you know. But I think what would be more interesting is the minus 87 kilo category at Worlds, because there you had basically the stronger squat winning. The weaker muscle up and the stronger squat won this category. And this would be, in my opinion, interesting. So
this one, yes. Correct.
No. At a World Championship last year. In
Final Rep.
You talk about final.
Yeah.
Final
So
rep,
so I would give you both numbers, like to compare those two, and just for me to get a better feeling about the coefficient, you know.
But also here, the winner of the minus 87 have the best
Squat.
Yeah. No,
yeah, but if you
two less than the fourth. Sorry, but was Marco De Vita was also a powerlifter.
The fourth has the best squat, Marco De Vita, because Marco
can you
De
scroll
Vita,
a bit to the side just for me, because it's interesting.
Prova ad
How much
ingrandire a far vedere i punti.
number 3, the third one squatted?
Because Marco De Vita, I remember, did the last squat and he improved his position because he was the 7th. While with Grit to the squat, he went to the 4th place.
Yeah, so I think, for example, 160 kilo squat in below 87 kilo category is something you have to work on, and yeah, you can have there a lot of space to improvement, you know. And this is where I think, okay, in the end you have, and this is also I would call it the game of street lifting. In the end you have to find the way you can improve your total the best.
Yeah,
but
I understand.
What I want to state here is nobody who's really into street lifting is like, okay, I only focus on the squat and don't train the other movements anyway. So everybody is always trying to improve the movements. But the question is, and this is something from a genetical point of view, somebody, for example, like me, it is, I would say, almost impossible that I will muscle up 50 kilo.
No,
that doesn't mean I don't want to. I want to train for it, and to improve my muscle up, because I think 20 kilo is.
So you don't
Yes,
think that
the-
athletes try to find the easy way to
No,
win?
not this, but I would say let's let it be to the athlete what they really focus in their training. Because, for example, I have also athletes in my coaching that are like, okay, I don't really care about squat. I just want to improve my muscle up, or I just want to improve my pull up by a lot, because this is the movement I love the most, and I think I can beat 100 kilo, for example. And I think this is something very individual, and this is also something to consider, that we also, us three, we have our own point of view. Like, you have your point of view, I have my point of view, but there are so many people around us with also different opinions. And what we have to consider there is that in the end, people will work on all street lifting movements if they want to compete on a long run. And we are now, and this is something also important, close to powerlifting levels already after only 3 years. Because if you, for example, compare my lifts from 2019, when we hit the first German national championship in street lifting, I had a squat of 210, I think. 210.
And
now estimated 1 rep max is around 275, 280. So in 2019, a powerlifter could join a street lifting competition and won by the squat. But since 2019, the last 4 years, street lifters started squatting too. And now this gap will always be more narrow. And the more professional you be at street lifting, because if you consider the squat as a lift of street lifting and not just a copycat of powerlifting,
lift.
yes, if you consider it as a lift of street lifting, then people will have to improve the squat to be competitive in street lifting anyway. And they don't really care about what squat numbers in powerlifting are hit, because it's not the same sport. For example, it's the same if you compare, for example, football and basketball. Let's say, I think about a better combination.
Beach volley
or
volleyball.
And volleyball.
Yeah, for example, if you compare those two, there are in Germany at least people who are focused on beach volleyball the whole time. It's a different sport, although they share a name, but it's not the same, because the one you play with, I think, 7 people, 6
people in volleyball,
6 people, and beach volleyball you have 2. But they both are working on their volleyball skills, and they both are working on their overall physics, like they want to be better at jumping, better at running and sprinting and stuff like this. So although those are two different sports, they both work into the same direction. And I think this is this is my point of view about street lifting and powerlifting. You have two different sports that share one exercise, one lift, and people have to and people need to start to emphasize and embrace the shared lift, because this can also be, for example, if you have cultural borders between Germany and Italy, for example. German culture can benefit a lot from Italian culture, and also the other way around. There's always something where you can say, this is something they do better than we are doing right now. And this is also, in my opinion, if you look at sports in general, people need to chill and understand that it's about the love of the sport, and it's about being a big fitness community in the end. So of course somebody calls themselves a street lifter, somebody calls themselves a power lifter, and what you have to consider is an elite power lifter will never have the time or the patience to compete at street lifting, because otherwise he wouldn't be an elite powerlifter, you know? Like, even though they will, for example, do dips, if he's on world-class level and competing at IPF Worlds for the podium or top 10, they don't even have the time to think about competing at street lifting, and the other way around. So, for example, the small jockey boy doesn't consider to compete, like regularly compete at powerlifting.
But Tonio, I saw that some powerlifter boy at the moment thinks so. Oh, I'm preparing, for example, a powerlifting competition. Let's do also that kind of sport. Let's do street lifting only to
But
try.
why not?
And they arrive because they can't arrive second. That's why.
But why not? I think if somebody if somebody is strong, I don't care from which sport he's coming, and even if he's doing like fencing or
of course,
if he's a professional, if he's a professional cyclist, I don't care.
For example, we are mountain bike, then there is a road bicycle. Okay, if you are a champion in road bicycle, you are extremely resistant, but you don't have the control of the bike because it's not your main sport. It's like if we start to make
but you don't think about ways to make it harder for people from another sport to join your sport. You think about ways to make your own. Yeah, but I think from this point of view, it's all about, okay, how can we improve the sport to make it better for the people who are competing already? And we don't have to think about people coming from other sports, because it doesn't matter. If the people who consider themselves as street lifters and are street lifters on an elite level, I don't think and I don't fear any powerlifter, strongman, or whatever.
Sorry, Tonio, but if you want to do a triathlon, you need to be able to swim, or you don't do
sure,
triathlon.
but you have to do at least a bodyweight muscle up. And if you want to compete at powerlifting, but if you, for example, want to compete at powerlifting, you only have to do a 20-kilo squat. So basically, some guy with a huge bench can join a powerlifting meet and set up a new national bench record just by squatting 20 kilo. You know, like you squat 25 because you have the clips, and then you consider yourself the national record holder of the bench, for example, or you only do deadlift and whatever. So, and I'm like, okay, I don't care if you're that strong, do it.
You know, I understand.
No, of course. If you are extremely strong, you win in any case. That's the point. With the coefficient, with the total, if you are extremely strong, you win in any case. So
yes.
Why?
So this is what we can agree on. I think that if you're a very strong street lifter, you won't lose to a power lifter. Because if you are a strong street lifter, you should have a decent squat. And if you want to be an elite street lifter, you have to get an elite squat. And if you just take the squat and compare powerlifting to street lifting, the only thing that shows up is that there is still work to do for us. Because at the moment, if you have the same body weight compared to each other, two athletes, one powerlifter, one street lifter, the powerlifting guy will out squat us. And this is not because he's a powerlifter, that's just because he's very strong at squats, you know?
Yeah.
And this is something, there will be one day that somebody from street lifting is, okay, I can squat 330, for example, and then I go and fuck up powerlifting. So, but then the powerlifters will
down. How can muscle up the same guy?
Yeah, why
40
not?
kilos.
Because he's strong. If you look, for example, at Bob Matthews from the USA, he's one of the by far strongest powerlifters in the world. Like he's completely crazy strong, but he can also dip around 150 to 160. But he doesn't care because it's
Yeah,
not his
Tonio,
sport.
but the problem, the core, the heart of the problem is the focus of each athlete in each lift. For example, I would like to win the final rep. I would like to win the strength tour. Which is the most important? Where can I gain the most points? In squat.
Sure,
If
but
we
you
have
will lose
one,
to
one, one.
but you will lose to somebody if you don't only do a, for example, 5 kilo muscle up, and you have Chucky Boy doing 40 kilo, you have to out squat him by 35 kilo right now. And this only means because if you suck at muscle ups, you will also suck at pull. Then you will do, like, let's say a decent pull with 70 kilo. He does 100. And then you have a 65 kilo gap already just out of the pulling movements. And if you get out squatted by 60 or 70 kilo, I mean, dude, you have to work on your squat. And it's not the fault of the guy with the big squat. It's your fault because your squat is weak. And of course, in final rep, you need a strong squat because we don't want to have skinny leg, tiny guys. We want to have strong overall humans.
A strong Pericol said, obviously, a powerlifter with strong bench can dip a lot with some.
Yeah, but we have also, for example, Robin from Germany, who's a very strong powerlifter, and he's also really strong at
Yeah,
pull.
but it's not the same lift. It's not the same like squat and squat. That's why you need an adaptation from bench to dip. You need the work. It's not if you, for example, we check in some videos some power lifter, and we propose them to try the dip. Yeah, they could do, for example, 50 kilos, but not the same kilos in
but
bench.
You also have, but
squat,
you also,
yeah.
for example, but if this is your argument, you also have to learn the muscle up, because if you're a power lifter, the muscle up is nowhere near your normal training. So
but
if
it's
somebody
only the 7%, but 40
yeah,
kilos.
But he always has to put in the work to even be able to compete, you know? Like, so there's somebody who wants to compete at street
But
lifting.
the 7%, Tonio, the 7%, for example.
Yeah, but if you want to grow the sport, our goal is that a lot of people participate in the sport and a lot of people get really in touch with the sport. And
yeah, I know you don't want to put a barrier, for example.
We have a barrier. The barrier to keep lazy powerlifters out of the sport is basically the muscle up. Because if you're not strong enough to do a clean muscle up, you can't compete. And this is equal for everybody. And if somebody, for example, as a powerlifter, they will work like 2 months to get a clean muscle up, at least 2 months. And this is
si è bloccato.
German connection.
Yeah, we wait for Tonio. And in the meanwhile, we read something about Xavier and Pericol. Pericol said there is a lot of people who suck at pull, but not that much on chin up. So their only weak lift is muscle up. Yeah. In fact, we are explaining about this, that in street lifting we have 4 lift. So if we have 4 lift, we would see how much is important each lift. For example, with Xavier Machas, we saw that 40 kilos of muscle up are only the 7% of each lift. So why Xavier should improve his muscle up? He doesn't need to improve the muscle up. He can
It's not
stay relaxed, keep the 40 kilos of muscle up, and improve the squat to become stronger. That's why we are explaining this important concept, because if you want to, for us, in my opinion, if you want to improve we wait for Tonio now. If you want to improve the street lifting, we are explaining that coefficients are important, but coefficients are made not from my opinion or from Mirko's opinion, but they come from results we have each year. That's why. And we are explaining this thing because the percentage are very different. That's why it's not my opinion, Mirko's opinion, Tonio's opinion. We want only to check the results. And the results said us the muscle up is important in Xavier lifts. No, only the 7%. For example, if you want to do an holiday, no, and you have to spend for a car, you have to spend for the flight, to eat. How much is the percentage? How much money I have to spend to eat? For example, in holiday, I spend much money. The 20% of money I spent is for eating. So it's very important. But I spend only 7% for museum, to visit museum. It's not so important. So if I have, for example, 1,000 euros, I know that the 7% of 1,000, it's not 500 euros, are only 70 euros. So it's not so important in my budget. I'm trying to explain in a easy going in order to explain this important thing. But it's also important the concept about Tonio concept, who explained me, yeah, Simone, but we can check each athlete and we can see that the strongest are 50% in the lower body and 50% in the upper body. In fact, Tonio has got the reason, because also Xavier has about 50% in the lower body, but not everybody. For example, that's why I'm explaining about power lifter, because we checked an example like Pileggi, and we saw that he has 60% from the lower body and 0.3% in muscle up. So we can absolutely say he is not, sorry, Pileggi is only an example, but we have also other examples. At the moment, he's a power lifter, not a street lifter. But we can check also other athletes, and it's not a problem. It's not a problem. But
it's good. It make the third position.
It's a very good thing that a power lifter wants to compete in street lifting. Very good. Also, a volleyball player, soccer player can come to street lifting. It's not a problem. But the way to win has to be the same. So if Xavier, for example, who is very strong also in squat, he can win everywhere. But let's try, for example, with Vicky Santoro. Let's check Vicky Santoro. Vicky Santoro is very, very strong in deep, very strong in pull-up, and very strong in muscle up. But he has a lower muscle up. And
squat.
Yes, sorry, in squat. For I don't remember, 150 kilos. And other street lifter can say, yeah, you have to train. Yeah, okay. But his genetics is not for squat. We know. but he is very, very strong in tree lift. That's why we are trying to explain the coefficients, because for me it's a pity that a power lifter can come and beat Vicky Santoro with, for example, 0.3% of muscle up.
But the question is why Whitkey is not working on his squat.
Yeah, he is working, but he is more difficult for him to improve the squat because his genetics is not to.
Yeah, but this is something that I can consider myself, as I say. Yeah, but it's very different for me and difficult for me to improve my muscle up because my genetics are shit.
But you can gain less kilos in muscle up than Vicky in squat. Vicky, for example, can reach also 200 kilos in squat. Maybe.
So he should.
Yeah, he can. But a power lifter with 30 kilo muscle up, 30 kilos muscle up, and 250 no, but 200, can we check the less 73 kilos squat, Mirko? Possiamo vedere gli squat della meno 73? So we can check also results in less 73 kilos, because I don't remember exactly the lift. We have, for example, 200 kilos, and we have also final rep results. So I want Tonio, how much squat people lift in final rep less 73?
You mean in the worlds?
Yeah,
worlds?
Yeah.
Wait a second.
We have. Okay.
Also best around squat, 200.
Okay, around 200. Let's think about an athlete who can reach in the future 200.
But this is only Germany, you know.
Yeah.
And if you look at here, we are again at, he has a 185 kilo squat, but his upper body total is still higher than his lower body total.
Okay, yeah.
But the second guy with a bigger squat than the upper body didn't match him. Although he only squatted 5 kilo less, in overall, he had 40 kilo less in total. This is what I want to state.
Let's do one thing, Tonio. Let's copy these results. And Mirko, copiali e mettili in paragone con quelli della Strength Tour. So let's copy these results, and we check the Italian results with the German results. So I can see immediately that the muscle up is lower in Germany because the focus is less.
You have to no. You have to understand basically that the level in Germany is way below Italy.
The level, you mean? Okay.
The overall level. If you look at all weight categories, Germany is not too competitive at any weight category at the moment. Like we have Nana, for example, minus 66, who's top 10 at the moment, I would say. Minus 73. There is the top level guys are totaling around 500 already. That's a huge gap. Minus 80 kilo, Micha is injured, so we have also.
So you don't think that is only a focus problem?
It's an overall strength problem, because if you only pull 80 kilo and you're only capable of pulling 80 kilo, you can't pull muscle up 50 kilo. You know, so and Pere typed a comment that he was like, yeah, every lift should be 25%. Yeah, because you're upper body focused. So if we look at Pere's total, his squat is way behind his upper body lifts. And if you have that's just a philosophical question in the end. And this is, I think, we already agreed on it. But I don't like the idea of a sport, because in Germany we basically just brought squats into calisthenics, because a lot of people were making fun of us that basically calisthenics is huge upper body and chicken legs.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this,
yeah,
this
yeah.
this was the whole point of us to say, okay, let's bring in the squat, because the squat is one chance to prove your strength of the lower body, and that is always a bit related or somehow related to calisthenics, because if you do bodyweight squats, the barbell is the next step if you want to put on weight, because anything else doesn't really make sense. And therefore, in my opinion,
But try to compare datas. Okay, you spoke me about the level. Okay, but
It's quite the
in
same.
pull up we have the same level. In deep we have quite the same level.
or you're way above. If you compare 30 kilo gap, 100
in
kilo is best dip, and 132 is your best dip.
100.
The best dip, our best dip is the.
Okay, but the
142.
average, if we do an average,
The top, the average.
puoi
The
fare le
average is.
medie.
Sì.
So we can
But
check
your
the
average
average.
should be a bit higher than ours.
Yes,
But-
ours a bit higher, but not
But
that much.
little,
And
not-
our
okay.
first, since probably win the strength war.
Huh?
Yeah.
Really?
Because
No.
if we do if we do the average, we can see exactly the athlete focus, not my opinion or Tonio's opinion. We can see exactly the focus at the moment. Maybe in the future.
Yeah, but
we can
therefore, I think it is more interesting if you just compare the numbers of pull, for example. Like if you look at our competitors, you see that pull in comparison to Italy, like the lowest pull you have is 70 kilo, and we
Yeah.
have only 2 guys above 70 kilo in the whole competition in this weight category. You know.
Yeah. See?
So therefore, they are just weaker at pull.
Okay, so we have, for example, 73.2 kilos in pull-up in this category, while in German category, we should, for example, consider only the best 8, because you have more guys in this category. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So Mirko, puoi prendere solo i primi 8 per pull up, così facciamo la media considerando gli 8 e non abbassa la media. So I can
ma questi
explain,
non riesco a
Mirko,
prenderli. Questi non riesco a prenderli nell'immagine.
Okay, at the moment we can
yes,
we can
he has to
take
type because it's
too
just
much.
a
the picture.
Yeah.
I have to
we can
convert it.
see.
I can do it, but not in 5 minutes.
For example, I can put a post tomorrow on my Instagram page to compare this kind of results in order to think and to improve, only to speak about street lifting and improve. Because for me, it's very interesting to take these results.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think if your squat is so close to your dip, you're squatting too less. If you look at the squat and the dip and it's 15 kilos apart, that's like like me squatting 205. So this wasn't even 4 years ago a decent squat.
It's true.
Yeah,
and this is something where I say, okay, this is, as I said, philosophical question. But if you use a coefficient, you are going more into a upper body focused sport. If you're using a total, it's more balanced between upper and lower body. If you're using a coefficient, you're going into a philosophical direction where you say, okay, street lifting comes originally from calisthenics, which is basically an upper body focused sport. But then you also have the question, okay, just because it's the origin, do we have to keep it just because it was always like that? The question is
a philosophical question, exactly. It's all
also Pericol said.
Okay, you
interesting.
Yeah, what Pericol said is basically, and this is totally true, but that's part of the game. you know, like any, for example, if you're for example, what is a good example?
A
If
good
you're
example is if we start play football and
no,
football is
I
not
would
soccer,
call it,
and we start to change the ball or the dimension of the come si dice, of the net. We want to keep the same dimension. That's the
no,
question.
I wouldn't agree to that. I would say, like, if you have somebody from triathlon, as we had already the example,
Okay,
and you
okay.
have the top level guys from Ironman,
Yeah.
they are running on a marathon distance, like 42 kilometers.
Okay.
If they would compete at any normal marathon where mediocre people compete, of course they would destroy them either. Although
I don't know.
those
With the top level, top tier champion, it will lose.
no. You have the top tier, like what Pere was saying is, you take strong powerlifters and put them against mediocre street lifters.
Win
And
the top
and-
level power lifter.
yes,
Also with the coefficient.
yes.
Also.
Because if you have the biggest, way bigger squad, of course you're the stronger person, basically. So
Yeah.
why shouldn't the stronger person win? And the same. This was my example. If you take top tier triathlon, triathlete, I don't know, ich weiß nicht, I don't know what the English word for it, from triathlon, you take the top level and put it against an average guy who's going to run for 40 kilometers. Of course he would destroy him, because the one is the professional and the other guy is just doing it for fun. And this is, in my opinion, nothing wrong, because nobody is forced to be an elite street lifter, and nobody is also be forced to be an elite powerlifter. It's your free choice. And I think what always is a bit difficult for people to understand is that strength sports, or sports in general, is all about genetics. It's like 90% or 95% of what you achieved in any sport is genetics. It's about your intrinsic motivation, it's about your leverages, it's about your muscle fibers, it's about the environment you're born into.
Yeah,
This is all, everything you didn't decide. No, never ever. All you did was start training and then let the magic happen. And so therefore there will be people who will fall off and who won't be competitive in 5 years from now, because they will stop progressing. And this is not the fault of the sport. It's just sometimes genetics, sometimes it's your life that changes. You get kids, move to another country, get a stressful job, stuff like this. So in the end, you have to consider, if an elite powerlifter would destroy an elite street lifter, I would totally accept the coefficient. But just for mediocre people changing, I don't know. Do you guys know League of Legends, the computer game? If you look at the patches, for example, like they update the game frequently, like every 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks, something like this, and they just look at what is happening at the top level of the game, and then they make game changes because they want to have a very, very competitive overall game. But if you change it for the top level, you don't know what happened to the smaller guys, because something that really works out at the top level maybe has impact, like huge impact, and then oh no, we fucked up the whole game for 99% of the people who are not one top percent. And then we have to change it back, because then you always have to consider what is the impact you have. And then something you don't, this is also a philosophical question. Do you focus, by developing the sport, what do you want? Do you want an elite sport? So do you want to focus the sports development into a direction where the elite lifters are focused? Or do you want to have something like marathon, like public runs, where the mass of the people is focused? You know, Like if you want to focus on 100,000 people, you have to make different decisions than if you want to focus on the one top percent. Because in the end, this is basically the question we're facing right now. If we want to focus on what is happening at the top, or do we focus on what is happening below the top, where it basically, and this is something people maybe don't want to hear, it doesn't fucking matter if you win your regional championship or not. So it doesn't matter. It also doesn't, basically, it doesn't matter if you win world championship or not. It doesn't make you a better person. It doesn't grant you anything. It's sports. It's about fun. It's about training. It's about passion. But in the end, chill. And if you should be happy.
It's an important question, Tonio, but I saw also the chat that also Xavier, Perecol, also lots of people, lots of guys who practice elite street lifting doesn't agree with the total. That's why it's an important question. So I think that at the moment it's not, there isn't a correct answer, no? Because we checked also the results, and so I thought that I hope that this live could be a start to give in all over the world. We give the possibility to think about this question. So let's try to write here below, what do you think, guys? So let's explain your point of view, in order to maybe in the future we can do other live in order to speak. Of course, we will see the final rep results. We will see with Tonio in another live what will happen in Colonia. So we will check and we will speak about this thing. For example, seeing, yes, the same argument emerges in comparing the gymnastic and skill-based calisthenics. Yeah, of course. Does it worth pursuing skill when your goal is just a gymnastic warm-up?
Yeah, I think this is also a interesting point of view, because it is, for example, in Germany, we also had this kind of discussion. I'm not too much into freestyle calisthenics, but in the end, if you take a professional gymnast, they will, like top level Olympian, of course they will destroy 99% of freestyle athletes because they are fucking Olympian.
No.
Of course.
In Skills Italia, no, it could happen because we checked this thing and we spoke about this thing and we put
I mean, if you
at the bar. So if you do lots of things at the rings, you can arrive third or second, but a good skill, a calisthenic skill, is stronger. At the moment,
yeah, but this is also the same for street lifting.
The same.
You know, like if you take the average freestyle guy who can barely hold a full planche, of course he will get destroyed by a professional gymnast, because it's a professional and not because it's a gymnast. And a professional powerlifter will destroy the average powerlifter. He will destroy the average street lifter because he's a professional. And this is something people have to consider. It's not about what you name yourself. It's about, in fact, the numbers you put on the plate. So
I understand, Tonio. So I only want to do the last thing. We can officially say also here in live that the winner next years and in the next years will go to final rep. So guys, you have to participate to Strength War to gain the possibility to go completely free to the final rep, because Vulcano will pay the trip, the flight, the hotel, and the subscription to final rep. So we start a collaboration with Tonio and with the final rep. I have the t-shirt who Tonio gave me here in Italy, and of course we will come to Colonia to see and to be guest and not organize anything. I want only to sit, to stay relaxed, and to drink something by night.
We will get
relaxed.
some. We will get some of the German wine bottles, so you guys will taste the best wine in the
German
world.
Of course. It's very famous, the German wine, and so I want to check
There
it.
is, I don't know if you know this, but in Germany we as every nation we have a national anthem, but our national anthem is limited to the third part. The first two are forbidden in Germany to sing because they're too nationalistic, and one part of the first two is about like German wine, German women, and stuff like this should be kept as the heritage of the world. Something like this. So,
We will check.
Amazing.
No, and last thing, we can officialize that we will use the same categories. So Strength Tour in the 2024 will have the less 66, not less 67, like the final rep. Then we will have the less 73, the less 80, the less 87, and the
less 94 and above 94.
For these things, for
no.
this year, because we still want to wait more athlete in the heavier category, we maintain the plus 87 and accumulate the two categories, because is for us we check and we don't have the strong athlete.
Exactly.
We prefer the not the egg but the chicken first. Philosophy, we have different philosophy.
Because a Strength Tour we have the ranking, so we have the plus 87. So for a men category we change the first category, so less 66. While for the women there are lots of things, because we don't have only two categories this year, but we will have three categories like final rep. We don't have the plus 70 because there's no women here in Italy who will compete, so they can.
But if you make it an international competition, I wouldn't say that they won't come, because in the end I think like what I'm thinking at the moment, how to structure final rep for the future, because it is as people might underestimate the work that needs to be done to get into a, I would say, similar level as a world federation, because there's so much to consider and to think about. What I'm thinking about is to have like 3 levels of final rep events, to have like the final rep pro events where people who will win the competition are directly qualified for the world championship or European championship, so the international event. Then you have the qualifier events where people can set up a valid total to be within the ranking. And then you have underground events, which are basically regional championship, where it basically doesn't really matter and you can't really you can't qualify for the international events. It's more about, okay, we provide judging, we provide the platform and stuff like this to make it more popular. And what I think is, if you really be the first pro event, the first final rep pro event, also a lot of people from other countries will consider to come to Italy to compete, because if you pay for their expenses, it is like, for example, I'm pretty sure that Jovan, for example, from Serbia, he will rent a bus and then they will come over camping at your booth
and come.
because they're like, okay, fuck that, it costs us like 500 euro to travel with 10 guys to Italy, but if they pay the expenses they have, it is a big money.
In fact, we want to explain that if you participate to Strength Tour, it's not a national competition. So if you come from, for example, like Tony explained, from Serbia, and you participate to Strength Tour, you can have the ticket to participate to Final Rep. So it's not only for Italian people, because we don't have only Italian people. We have a Strength Tour, and this is not only for Italian people. It's for the best. So the Strength Tour is a way to arrive, to reach the Final Rep. So forget the national competition, because we couldn't have in worldwide in each state the same level of judges and so on. So it's impossible. For example, next year I go to, I don't know, to Lebanon. I create a
national event
a national event with 10 people, and Mirko win the competition and go to Final Rep. No, it's not correct.
Yeah.
So with Tonio, we spoke about to create collaboration partnership with other organizer, and people can decide where to participate to reach the Final Rep. So it's very important to understand. So we can speak and keep a good level and a good agreement.
This is also for me important, that because I talked to a lot of guys in Italy, and I know that there is some difference in opinions, I would say, to keep it low level. And I think that Final Rep might be a possibility to grow together, because in the end, everybody in Italy who's participating in street lifting, who's organizing events, does it for the sake of the sport. There might be different points of view. There might be different opinions about certain topics. I think it is important to discuss. And in the end, I just want to have the strongest people on the planet to compete at the Worlds. And I don't really care where they're coming from. So if next year we have 10 Italian guys from each in each category competing, so it be.
It means Italian are better.
Basically, it's the pasta and the weather.
What's the problem? Like power lifter better than street lifter? It's the same. Italian are better.
Sure. This is. I mean, you can win like the lower categories because you're all smaller. So there is not a lot of competition, as you said. Like you're basically the Indian guys of Europe. So in India, there's also like a lot of people competing 66, 73, 80, and nobody above. So that's basically it. Therefore, I think if you really consider it to make it international, also people from Austria, Switzerland, also from France, a lot of people from the Balkan states will come and compete, and then you have a bigger variety of athletes than just, for example, in Italy. As for example, in Germany, we are facing the problem that we always have like 3 to 5 people competing minus 66 kilo category. If I look at Worlds, it's the most and biggest. It's the biggest weight category we have. We have like over 30 people who want to compete minus 66. So if you compare like your national level to an international level, it differs a lot.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
So this is something I would say you should consider yourself in the planning. But you come to Cologne and then we will have a good time. Everybody from Italy. Viva Italia.
Exactly. Viva l'Italia. Viva tutto il mondo. Okay, so we can say good night to everybody. Thank you very much for the participation, Tonio. And guys, right here, come here below, and Über alles, Deutschland über alles.
No. This is part of the forbidden anthem.
I know.
This is something I can't agree on.
Word, not Deutschland, because this guy writes so, and so we are joking, of course, and guys, right here below, and let's explain what do you think about categories and so on, and we will read your comments. Okay, Italian doing
Have a good one.
Okay, good night, guys. Hi Tonio, ciao Mirko,
Hi Tonio.
ciao a
Ciao
tutti,
ciao.
buonanotte, ciao ciao.